there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, playing with my new watercolor pencils. These are the Albright Druer pencils, and I wanted to do kind of like this, oh, it's almost like a geranium like flower, and I was just kind of playing with the idea, and I wasn't really happy with what I was coming up with, so I thought I would try again, and if it comes out good, then hey, I'll upload the video and you guys can see it. If not, it can live on my my camera card to be seen by nobody. This is a photo by April Dupree. She shared it with me over at Paint My Photo, and I'm going to sketch on this flower using a purple Albright Druer pencil, and it's kind of like in a big pom-pom type of flower, so I'm just dotting on kind of like a circle there, slightly off center, and then I'm going to kind of dot on some smaller circles. Okay, that's going to help me just kind of place everything. I'm not going to worry about flowers. You know, I'm not going to worry about any stray lines. They can, you know, they can be rinsed away a little bit, so, you know, don't worry. Throw a leaf there or something. I wouldn't stress about that too much. I want to throw in the stem and a couple of these little sprouts in here. And the thing I do like, these are new. They're not new. They're new to me. I bought them new. What am I trying to say here? They are not a new product. They are, they've been around for a few years, actually for quite a while. I've wanted them for quite a while, and I've had them recommended so many times to me, and I've been asked about them so much that I thought I would invest in them finally, take a splurge. I found them on sale with free shipping, and I decided I would go for it. I'm just kind of basing them in with this light pink color. Now I have to be careful because the colors are so intense that that if I'm not careful, I end up getting too much color, and then I can't really do much with it. I get oversaturate, and that's where I was having a problem with some of my studies there. So now I'm going to refine the shapes of some of my petals here. I want to kind of pick a couple flowers that are really going to put some detail, and they kind of have, some of the petals are kind of heart-shaped like that. I think this is a geranium. The title is Grandma's Flowers, I believe, and this really pretty. They're kind of these velvety looking flowers. I don't know if I'll get the velvety look with these pencils or not. We'll see when it's all done. But when you're dealing with a flower like this, where you have kind of like a multiple flowers, multiple blossoms on one big head, you don't want to put every flower into sharp focus, every petal. You just want to kind of hint, maybe completely draw a couple of them, but then leave the other ones kind of just little bits poking out, because that's really all you're going to see. You know, you don't want to have everything in sharp focus or nothing looks real. Everything just looks a little too flat when you do that. You gotta have some faded out bits. All right. And I want to have a little bit more of an intense color in the center. The very, very center will actually be this kind of periwinkle color, so I'm just going to go and base that in there. But towards the bottom of the petals where it touches the center, I want that to be a little bit darker. So I am going to go in with this darker purple here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of, not a lot, because as I mentioned, these colors, they're very much like the Inktense pencils. They're very saturated, so I just want to go in there with a little bit of that just close to the center, and I'm going to layer on the color I've been sketching with just to make sure that purple isn't too blue. I just kind of shade these these petals in the back as well. Layer over a little bit of that mauve, or yeah, I think it's like a mauve color. I'm not going to bother with the background right now. I'll see what I think I want as I go on. Sometimes I don't really like what I do, and then I'll wash over the entire piece, and it will take any of my pigment in the middle, and it will kind of spread it out, so then I can go back in and refine later. But I've kind of toned the paper kind of with my unhappy painting, with my painting I'm not happy with. So that's what I did here. I was just not happy with that, so I just brushed over it and let that pigment kind of move around, and I might go over it with some watercolor crayons later. I'm not sure. Alright, I'm going to use a number 6 This is just says Watercolor Round by Royal Langnickel. It's very much like an aquilon. I would have said it was a aquilon if I didn't read it actually. And I'm just going to squeeze off the extra water, and I'm just going to take one petal at a time and liquefy my color. And I can go and do that for a couple of the petals here. I'll do one flower. Try not to fuss with your illustration too much. And then I'm going to take a piece of cut up credit card. Where'd that go? Oh, you know what? I'll just use the back of my brush. And I'm just going to scrape in some details there. That's why they make the ends of that brush, the brushes like that, so you can scrape in. And I want a little bit more color in the middle, so I'm just going to pick up a little bit from the lead here. And add it in there and let it kind of dissipate, and it will sink into the scraped areas, and it will add a little bit of more intensity to those lines. And I'm going to do that for every one of the little petals there. Just going to go around. I'll skip between the flowers a little bit. I got a little too much water on there. And but I'm pretty much going to do the same thing to each of those petals. So I'm just going to wet them, scrape them, just like that, and then add a little more pigment with this mauve color. There. Oh, my studio was so quiet today. I had Lorraine and Kathy over yesterday. We did some filming for Ask a Crafter, and just had a very, very busy day. Very busy day yesterday between sporting events and everything. So it's nice just to chill, relax my studio today, get some projects done. I've got some tutorials to work on. Got a soldering project I want to get done today. So hopefully that'll be available on my YouTube channel pretty soon. I've also decided that I am going to write an ebook. So it's going to be a watercolor ebook. It's going to kind of tackle a lot of the stuff that I get asked on a daily basis from you guys, and I hope that that it is well received. But I've got to write it first, so wish me luck. I've got to make sure I'm telling you so I stay on track, so I stay accountable, so I actually finish it. I'm very excited about this project, so that's another reason I want to get a few tutorials done today, so I can dig right in and have some open blocks of time to work on that. I do so much freelance work for other people that it's and I enjoy it, but it's nice to be like, okay, this is my project, and I'm gonna do it because it's what I want to do. So wish me luck on that endeavor, will you? I would appreciate it. Fingers crossed, all the positive vibes you can send my way. Alright, we're still doing the same exact technique. And of course, you know, use a toothpick or a credit card scraper if your brush doesn't have a beveled end. Just go around. Try to stay out of the center because we want to keep that kind of periwinkle color. And a little more water there. I have run out of paper towels down here. I realized that a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if I have any in my my pantry or not. My goodness. This is one of those things I always forget to pick up. I do have some old t-shirts and stuff that I've torn up to use for painting rags, but I always forget to use them. I don't even know where they are. They're in a basket somewhere down here. Out of sight, out of mind, I'm sure. Probably hiding with all the other things I lose in the course of a day. Stuff I know I have. I'm usually pretty organized, but it's just those little things you don't really think about until you need them. I'll just be squeezing the extra water off my brush today. Alright, I'm just gonna, these guys back here, I'm not gonna worry about adding the veining to. I'm just gonna go ahead and liquefy them. Scoot right in there and do that. And do this last guy here. I don't paint geraniums very often, and I think why is because they're not a very flouncy flower. They're very tight and controlled, and the petals don't They're very, I don't want to say stiff, they're kind of a stiff flower though, they are. And so I think that's, it doesn't really fit my painting style very much, but I did like these and I wanted to give them a try. So, we shall see. Okay, now I'm going to liquefy the stem and the centers. Just enough water there to push the pigment around. And I think I'll let this dry and then we'll go on to the next layer. Alright, whoa, sorry about that camera shake there. I did decide I wanted another layer on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of that kind of periwinkle color that we put in the center of the flowers, and I'm going to put this in the background. And I'm actually going to go in, now that my flowers are dry, and I'm going to fill in the center with that periwinkle. And the thing I noticed about the Albright Druer pencils, and they're by Faber Castell, is that they are a lot creamier. They're probably the most creamy of the watercolor pencils I've ever used, which is kind of, so they kind of feel nicer to color with. They feel much more like a traditional wax-based pencil. So, you know, just I thought that was notable, because usually if you're coloring with a watercolor pencil, it feels kind of chalky and dry, but these are very creamy. And I just want to add some splotches of this green that I used for the stem. And now I think I'll actually switch over to a flat brush. Here's one to do my background, just a 1/2 inch flat. I almost wanted a gray and green in the background, but I didn't really want to use gray. So this blue is going to be gray enough. I think it's dull enough that I can get by with it. And I've heard, and we'll see, that the Albright Druer, once they've dried, they're pretty permanent, so we shall see. I know some of these pencils that I sketched with, some of the lines are still unactivated. I'm turning it around like I do to make sure I can approach everything just at the right angle. But for the main flowers, they shouldn't bleed too much, I don't think. Of course, the lines I didn't really activate will. And I don't mind if I fuzz up some of the further away blossoms, because that'll just make them look a little bit more realistic. Like over here, if I want to fuzz away those a little bit, that's all right. Okay, I think I might make the colors a little more intense. They feel a little too soft to me. So I'll probably end up doing that. Get right in there and get those softened up. I'm not a big fan of a stark white background. Sometimes I do on cards. I'll leave a white background, but I generally like it a little bit darker. Now I want to I want there to be a little bit more color in the background, so I'm going to take some color off the tip of my pencil and just kind of dab it in. A dab a dab a doo ya. Yabba dabba doo. I don't know where that came from. Flintstones. I haven't seen that in a long time. I don't think I've seen that since I was a kid. There we go. Maybe I was thinking of the Cocoa Pebbles the kids picked out a couple weeks ago. Or Fruity Pebbles. I don't know. Never was a fan of the fruity cereals. Not really a fan of cereals anyway, because they don't fill me up. Oh, I like that better. I kind of like the ruffly, the blooming that's happening in the background, because I feel like it adds a little interest, and my picture, the background really needs a little interest. Now for some, I want to intensify some of the colors, especially to kind of push the petals away from each other a little bit. So I am going to, again, lift pigment off of the tip of my brush. Here we go, like this. Load it up just like I would if I was using my watercolor paints. And I'm just going to kind of go around the edge of, the outside edge of one of the foreground petals. See how it's just defined that there? Now I'm going to rinse my brush off. And I turn my picture around again because it's more comfortable for me to work. And look, I'm just going around the edge of that color with a damp brush. So it's just going to make it fade out. And then I can clean my brush, I can dry it, and I can lift off the little edge there. I like that much better. That looks a lot more realistic. All right, really, I'm gonna use my sleeve to to do that. I'm gonna do that around the centers of some of these flowers. Oh, I want to get back there. Do that one there too. Sometimes you can just pick up just the right amount. You don't have to do any more blending, but it's nice to know how to do it in case you need to. I want to soften that up a little bit. Actually, I do find that just kind of grabbing the extra water with my fingers off the brush usually gives me just about the right amount of pigment. Go around that. I'd probably do a couple before, and you know, get a couple in there painted and then blend them all at once so I don't waste the pigment, and so it's a little bit quicker too. Let's see, I think that's gonna stay wet enough, long enough, yep. And then we get that extra little bonus of the color going into the veins. Do a couple more of those. And we'll call this pretty well done. And then, you know, you got some room in that background if you want to use a rubber stamp and stamp in sentiment, or if you want to do, you know, use your calligraphy pens and do like a calligraphy sentiment or a greeting, or maybe just leave it blank until you're ready to use the card. That's probably a really good idea. That way you're not committing it to an event or an occasion already. Let's go around and soften some of those. I like to keep my paintings kind of loose. And I feel like I want a little bit of something in the stems. I don't think I'm going to liquefy that, but I'm just going into the slightly darker green. I just feel like it needs a little something there. And I do want to add some splatters, so maybe I'll also do that darker green. So let me just wet my brush here. And see, all I have to do is just flick the wet brush over the tip of the pencil. I can get a really good effect. I actually took my mat, the mat that I work on, and I took it outside yesterday and I hosed that puppy down. It was covered in glitter and paint, and I think I had some coffee spilled on there. It was quite a mess. So I took it outside, I hosed it up, I sudsed it up with some Dawn dish soap, and I'm telling you, it's like having a brand new mat. Alright, there you go. I'm going to call that done, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I have lots more tutorials on my channel. You can check out my watercolor video playlist where there are hours and hours and hours of tutorials for you to paint along with. And don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.